All right, but yes, the continued queer capture of our institutions is something that we have been speaking about for ages, but sadly we need to keep talking about because it keeps going on. And this, of course, is going to be referring to a lot of the trans issues that we've been covering recently. So just as a little quick heads up for anybody who hasn't yet watched it, you should check out the premium book club that Carl and I did recently on Abigail Shrier's Irreversible Damage, talking about the epidemic of young girls, often with mental illnesses, often autistic, often in the high school age, deciding to en masse transition and decide that they're boys, looking at it as a kind of social contagion, seeing as it seems to pop up most frequently amongst friendship groups. One girl will say, "I'm trans," and then 3 or 4 of her friends will do the exact same thing.
I'm so hearing often vulnerable, defenseless child exploited by adults in the room.
Yes, there is some pretty shocking stuff in that, and honestly, there'll be some pretty nasty stuff in this segment as well. So it's not.
That's why you're here.
Yeah, that's why you're here. It's really not for the faint of heart, all this sort of stuff. So let's carry on. So first of all, I just wanted to point out something that I was made aware of by the fact that you follow Nuance Bro on Twitter, correct?
Good boy.
He posted about this on Twitter, that this isn't. Yes, this is a real thing. So San Francisco, the massive progressive dump. The place where most often you'll hear about it in the news when there's a video of naked homeless men having sex on the street, or people just defecating or injecting needles. So instead of focusing their infrastructure of the local government or local mayor's town or office or anything, investing in trying to clean up the streets or anything like that, they have their own Office of Transgender Initiatives. This is what your taxes go to, San Franciscans. Don't be anybody else.
Are there any San Franciscans who even watch us?
I doubt it.
I really hope they've left.
There might be one. Yeah, if you're still living in San Francisco watching this show, please just move. Just move anywhere. And if you voted Democrat, wherever you move to, don't vote Democrat. Please, for the love of God, just don't. So this is a real thing. They've got their own office for transing children, I assume, is what it really comes down to. And they've been around since 2017. Let's take a look at some of the initiatives that they have on their website. So they want to have real talk about training for city employees. So once again, I wish they would teach them how to handle crack addicts and people, shitting on the street.
They have a solution, which is to give them crack.
Oh, I forgot. That's
you forget. Big ideas for a big brain place.
Ah, yes. This is what makes San Francisco such a desirable place to be. Obviously, so they want to educate you.
So I'm imagining a bunch of drug addicts just being like, "Let's put us on the map."
They want to talk about trans housing, which is very interesting. So if you're trans, get free housing. But I see no negative incentives being set up by this initiative.
What's a trans house, though? Because I live in a house, but then there's...
I don't know, it's caravan? I identify as a house.
So, have you seen, there's dwarf houses where everything's a bit smaller?
Maybe that's what all the homeless people in tents are. This is just trans housing. Don't discriminate, bigot.
But no, is there a urinal in the bathroom is what I'm thinking. Are there little amenities to make it more fitting?
I mean, it's San Francisco. The whole place is a big toilet. So, and they've also got trans training where they talk about, from a different page that I've not got up here, so don't worry about it, Michael. It's we offer live online training sessions to city and county employees, teams, and departments. Our trainings cover in-depth perspectives on working with transgender and non-binary communities. During our time together, we facilitate conversations about how gender affects us individually, practice skills relevant to your team's unique needs, and learn how to build more welcoming and, most importantly, more affirming environments for transgender and non-binary people. So basically, if you're employed by the San Francisco local government, you have to be affirming, you have to be welcoming. You can't even just go, "Are you sure? Are you sure you really want to cut your dick off? Are you sure about that?" No.
Not my place, I just signed the forms.
Yeah, I just signed the forms. And your taxes in California are paying for this absolute nonsense. Yeah. And
I'm glad Kit Kat's left. So one of the Gold-tier subscribers, she was like, "I'm getting the hell out of here."
Yeah, good shout, Kit Kat. Good one. But I just want to point out that government offices like this, when you've got, especially when they call themselves an office for initiatives, all those initiatives are just going to be things that aren't going to help, because how do I get paid? I get paid coming up with more initiatives. How do I make sure that there's more initiatives to make sure problems are never solved? Government bureaucracy only breeds more bureaucracy, because then you can invite your friends in who think the same as you to also get employed on the taxpayer's dime.
Literally have circle time, where you sit around and discuss leftism.
Yes, and get paid for it. I suppose it's good work when you can get it, isn't it?
We need right-wing circle time. It needs to be a thing. In government offices, like instituted, we must have sessions where you sit around and talk about, was that really a woman?
Is it really a woman? I don't know. I see some stubble on there. Yeah, no, I don't think that would happen with the right wing, because honestly, we've kind of got more important things to worry about than all this stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting things is they've also got a brainwashing module that I sadly wasn't able to get into and see what all the questions are, primarily because it's not allowed outside of the USA, and I didn't have time to set up a VPN. But yes, they have an Office of Transgender Initiatives Academy, Transgender 101, strengthen your commitment to inclusion. So this is meant for...
Is it like Police Academy?
I can only assume so. This is meant for all city employees. So if you work for the city of San Francisco, you have to affirm your commitment to inclusion. This is basically just another pledge of allegiance, because, I mean, we want to throw the Constitution out in the first place, unless it's maybe got an interpretable line about abortion. So throw out the Constitution, commit your allegiance to the transes, is what I'm getting from this.
Zeke pronouns.
Oh, God. Please. Yes, and they also had this article, which was just a list of their initiatives that they wanted to push for their TGI, which I believe stands for Transgender, Gender Non-Conforming, and Intersex Culture Community Inclusive Care Act. And the thing is, intersex is as far as I'm aware, intersex is completely different from any of those, because intersex is an actual biological phenomenon. Say you're born with both sets of genitals due to some freak mutation.
I mean, no part of the alphabet has anything to do with any other part of the alphabet. I mean, let's be frank. I mean, the
closest you could say is the gays and the lesbians, but historically they don't like each other.
No, you'd think they'd have a lot in common, but apparently not. And then you've got the bis, who are, everyone hates because they're just like, well, pick a side. And then trans is not a sexuality, so you've got nothing in common with them. And then intersex is a biological phenomenon.
This is a fantastic idea to base a movement around, hence why they're also rational and reasonable when discussing people who disagree with them. But I'll carry on from here. So on February 4th, 2022, Senator Scott Wiener, great name for this, great name for this stuff, introduced...
magic is real.
Yep.
Mr. Wiener's going to teach you about it.
Mr. Wiener just wants to speak to your kids for a few minutes.
No, don't run away. Queer sex. Why does Mr. Wiener want to do that? I mean, it sounds like a mascot, right? It's a guy in a mascot suit, and he's called Mr. Wiener.
In a giant penis outfit, yep. But he introduced Senate Bill 923. I'm surprised it's not 69420, to be honest, given how this is going so far. The TGI Inclusive Care Act to the California State Senate. This bill will require that California health providers and staff receive crucial training in transgender, gender nonconforming, and intersex cultural humility in order to provide inclusive care to these communities. It will also require healthcare plans to indicate which in-network providers offer gender-affirming treatment. Gender-affirming being that they will not ask questions, they will just transition you. They will hand you the hormones, and then as soon as you're done, you're through any arbitrary period of time with those hormones, they will get you signed up for the surgery straight away, which, as you can probably guess, is not the most responsible way of dealing with these people in these situations. But hey-ho, this has never really been about helping people. It's been about helping myself to look like I care. That's all it's ever been about. Despite the dearth of research on TGI communities, it's well documented that we experience... To be fair, TGI...
I keep thinking of TGI Fridays. I mean, it's not just me, right?
That's true. That's true. But also, TGI, go for it. Use this acronym, because honestly, the LGB is slowly starting to distance themselves anyway. So there you go. We've always pointed out the T has nothing to do with the rest of it. So, TGI, whatever.
Yeah, but then you have the eyes looking around like, why am I here?
Yeah, you people know nothing of my work.
My feet hurt.
Yeah. Despite the dearth of research on these communities, I wonder whose fault that is, it is well documented that we experience high rates of health inequities in California and nationwide. This is exacerbated for TGI people who are also BIPOC, immigrants, disabled, sex workers. Roll out the red carpet, because we've got them all here right now. We've got the BIPOC, we got your immigrants, we got your disabled, we got your sex workers, we got your trans women, and or other subpopulations vulnerable to systemic violence.
Is that how markets are up north now? There's no more buy your veg. We got your immigrants, 2 for a $5.
Get your trans women, lads. Get them while they're still hot. Yep, pretty much.
2 for a $5. Pick this morning.
Great deals. Existing research
Sorry.
No worries. Existing research indicates that these inequities are caused by the pervasive discrimination that we experience in all areas of life, such as housing, education, employment, families of origin, and healthcare settings. So once again, there's another checklist for leftists. For instance, the 2015 US Transgender Survey reported that 15% of TGI Californians were unemployed, 3 times the state's unemployment rate at the time of 5%, and 30% of TGI people in California have experienced homelessness in their lives. Maybe that's a good point, but is this due to strict discrimination? Because they don't give the reason for this in this article. So is it due to discrimination, or is it down to the much more likely factor that most of these people, absent of their gender dysphoria, also tend to suffer from anxiety, depression, and a whole host of mental illnesses that they're more than happy to put all over their Twitter bios?
Which means they might not pay the rent.
Yes.
Because I know some landlords, and they're really concerned with rent and not much else, in the sense of that's my base need, is you pay the bloody rent.
This is the foundation of the agreement that everything else comes from.
You could be as strange or queer or anything else. No one really cares as long as you pay the damn rent. And so the fact that you have a higher rate of homelessness here, I don't think that's probably to do discrimination. It probably is to do, as you say, with not being able to pay the rent.
And also massive amounts of mental illness among these
that
people.
Being the reason.
Which is not helped by all of this community that they involve themselves in. Being shut out of these opportunities pushes many TGI people into criminalized activities such as survival, sex work, and drug trade. Yes, it's because they're criminalized, and it's because they're pushed out of opportunities that these people engage in sex work and drugs. Yes, that's the only reason. It's not that they just do it anyway, which results in high incarceration
I can't help
rates.
Taking heroin, I'm trans.
I mean, that is the argument that some of them would probably use, to be fair.
Well, I guess we'll see what ContraPoint's excuse was. So
that's a good point as well, yeah. Without safe housing, education, employment, and healthcare, TGI people continue to experience serious preventable medical and mental health problems. So once again, all this is generally used as just a Trojan horse to get through all of the typical progressive talking points and policy points that they just want. It's like we said, give me dat for free. That's what they want. If you wanted to sum up leftist ideology, it's just give me dat for free.
Someone clip that.
Yeah. And the same 2015 study reported that 22% of these Californians did not see a doctor when they needed to because of fear of mistreatment. No, not actual mistreatment. They were just scared that they might probably just scared that they might be misgendered. Oh dear, I can't go to the doctor now. He might call me the wrong pronoun. Guess I'll die. And of those who did see a provider that year, 33% reported having one or more negative experiences seeking health due to transphobia, ranging from being refused treatment, which probably means I want the hormones. No, I'm being mistreated.
But I work at TGI Fridays, damn it.
Yep. To being assaulted in a healthcare setting, to having to teach their provider about transgender people and the medical care they need. So you're having to go in to speak to your doctor and they're like, excuse me, what? You want me to do what with your genitals? Oh, sorry, let me sit you down and teach you, Mr. Doctor, about how you should be doing your job. Obvious nonsense, obvious BS, all of this. And interestingly, there was this recent article from the Post-Millennial talking about some of the consequences of transitioning, especially given that the push recently seems to be transitioning kids, because if you can't abort them, let's go with the next best thing and just sterilize them. I mean, that seems to be the tactic from where I can see it, man.
That's a hell of a way of putting it.
These people are crazy, man. They think that human life is a parasite on, oh, gentle Mother Earth. That's the way that they're looking at this, though, isn't it? Really? You know it's true.
I never thought of it like that, but yeah, okay, like neo-abortionist is.
Yeah, pretty much. Like here's the next best thing, guys. So at a recent talk at Duke University on trans and gender diverse policies, care, practices, and well-being, surgeon and trans-affirming Dr. Marcy Bowers, who transitioned at the age of 38, admitting age of 38, they point out elsewhere in this article, after he'd already fathered 3 children. So transition when it's no real threat to his ability to procreate, admitted that children who undergo transition before puberty will never have adult sexual function or experience orgasm. So this is the life that we want to condemn all of these trans kids to never be able to truly experience sex.
It's not an important part of the human condition, is it?
No. Human connection has never been anything physical. When I go see my girlfriend, the most we do, we just hold hands, we look each other in the eye, and we know it's true.
And that's enough for me.
Yep, pretty much.
See you next week.
I prefer 1963 Beatles, thank you. I just want to hold your hand. An observation that I had, said Bowers, every single child who was or adolescent who was truly blocked at Tanner stage 2, which is the beginning of physical development when hormones begin their work of advancing a child to adulthood, has never experienced orgasm. I mean, it's really about 0. And also, interestingly, from Irreversible Damage, basically studies have shown that any child who goes onto hormone blockers when they're in adolescence, 100% chance that they will be going on to further medical transition later in life, not necessarily because they wouldn't have detransitioned, but because they have transitioned themselves socially to the point where you can't go back on it. You feel like a fraud, you've forced all of your friends and family to go along with this, so you kind of feel the need to go through it socially. This raises huge and glaring red flags about the concept of informed consent for children and teens who are ushered into transition. How can a child or preteen who has never experienced sexual satisfaction, orgasm, sexual intimacy, consent to giving that up? Which is a good question from the post-millennial, and the only answer is they can't. They can't consent to that at all. And the fact that people are having to sign informed consent forms that don't mention any of the sort of this stuff is criminal, in my opinion. And these people should be facing legal action. Part of the incredible process, according to Bowers' talk at Duke, is that a teen who doesn't want to be the biological sex they are is able to stop their natural puberty with puberty blockers, a drug called Lupron, and then use hormones to force their body to go through the puberty of the opposite sex, which is really, really exciting. And just a heads up for anybody who doesn't know, Lupron is a drug that they use to chemically castrate inmates in prisons.
Really, really exciting, Harry.
I know. It's just,
Why does that excite the person who said
What a
this?
brave new world we live in, right? After seeing thousands of patients and being a pioneer in trans medicine, Bowers said that an additional... This is
prisoners
like,
were the pioneers.
Yeah, no. This is like saying, no, I was the first guy to think of the gas chambers. Don't worry. I'm a pioneer. Bowers said that an additional concern is that when a boy undergoes this process, the penis does not grow, which makes it hard to take that genital material and surgically give it the appearance of the genital area of the opposite sex. When there is not enough genital material to use to create the appearance of a vagina and to align the opening of a neo-vagina, oftentimes other parts of the body are used. Transgender surgery Thailand notes that the 2 most common techniques are penile inversion vaginoplasty and rectosigmoid vaginoplasty. The skin graft is normally used for the vagina lining during sex reassignment surgery. I'm sorry about this, by the way.
If you're eating.
It's important to know this stuff because this is the absolutely barbaric practices that people are expecting your kids to go through.
I mean, look at the language is being used there. The appearance of a vagina, a neo-vagina. They don't even call it themselves because they know it's not. It's strange because in the public-facing stuff, like I'm a woman, trust me, look at me, blah, 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 all that stuff, it's 100% you have to pretend.
Yeah.
But as soon as you get to the reality of any kind of surgery, it seems that all the language immediately notes that, yes, this isn't real.
Yeah, I mean, also, I will just say there's a reason that people like Blair White are not going along with the bottom surgery. Because even though she wants to be a woman, as a trans woman, Blair White's like, I ain't getting this done to myself. Jesus Christ.
Oh.
Can you imagine what happens if it goes wrong? I'll skip through the rest of that because it's just disgusting. I think I've made the point there.
The chat are already grossed out for sure, I can see.
Yeah, I bet they are. And the article just ends with, the White House has encouraged parents to affirm their kids regardless of sterility and lack of sexual function. The Department of Justice seeks to target states to protect children and teens from this fate. Good point, because, of course, Jen Psaki and all the rest of the Democratic White House institution right now are saying we just need to protect trans kids. Does this sound like it's protecting people? No. No, it doesn't. sounds like you're doing some pretty bad things to people. There's another article that I found that was just because, of course, this isn't just strictly in the US. This is everywhere right now in the West, particularly in the UK. So this was an article talking about the NHS being accused of favouring men changing gender over women with medical needs for breast surgery. And this one's just nasty because it's talking about how a woman was refused surgery and being in constant pain because she was unable to breastfeed her daughter because she had implants when she was a child because of some medical issue that she had. And the NHS were just like, oh, no, we can't do that, sorry. But when they sent her the letter also noted, but the transgender women, they're able to get breast plants without having to worry about it because we're focusing, they're in real pain. They're in psychological pain. You might have an actual pressing physical medical need right now, but we need to really care about our inclusivity.
This is the privileged class that are the alphabet.
Yes, and then there's just some interesting stuff that's also developing in sects that you wouldn't imagine would be part of the alphabet soup. For instance, a teacher's striking at a Catholic school saying they're fighting for an inclusive education after a gay author ban. So teachers striking at a Catholic school for adopting Catholic principles.
I don't know what to make of Catholics. They're weird people.
I know, they are very strange, but still, like, this is the, like, base level what you would expect. They don't want to be teaching their kids about gay stuff. And
Okay.
I'm not saying that I support it one way or the other, but it's just like, are you that surprised? But the most interesting
I
thing...
mean, the same thing happens at a Muslim school. No one bats an eyelid, but...
But the last thing I wanted to go over was just that the Northern Irish Green Party has released what it calls a Queer Greens Manifesto, calling for children of any age to be permitted to alter their gender. So I'll just go through a little bit of this because this is happening over in... Yeah, here's a sign that you can see. Dear MLA candidates, what is a woman? # respect my sex. And then all of the graffiti on it saying F-TERFs,
All cops are B.
yes, whatever she says she is.
Really thought through there. Some
This
wonderful.
is a rational and intelligent society that we're building on right now. So the Queer Greens are a group
Could you imagine bringing a Roman, teaching him English, and then just taking him up and showing him the sign and being like, "Yeah, so this is politics in 2,000 years from where you are."
No, he would just turn and go, so this came from America, yes. And America came from the English people, yes. All of a sudden, we'd all pop out of existence because the Romans would just genocide us.
Be right back.
Yeah, there you go.
Conquers Britain and does what they did to Gaul.
So the Queer Greens are a group within the wider Green Party, and its 7-page manifesto sits alongside transgender policies contained in its existing 40-page general manifesto. Among the demands in the Queer Manifesto are these. 1. Increased participation and representation of LGBTQ+ people in sports and leisure activities, ensuring that appropriate training and resources are available. So we want to just get rid of all the women in sports, basically. Just replace them with trans women, because obviously that'll be much more exciting for everybody.
Will not replace us.
Ensure that LGBTQ+ identities, issues and rights are included in teacher training across all settings, so your teachers have to know this. Provide healthcare professionals with consistent, specific and appropriate LGBTQ+ training, and bring forward a gender recognition bill for Northern Ireland on a basis of self-declaration requiring non-medical diagnoses or interventions, inclusive of non-binary people and those under the age of 18, with no lower age limit.
So a newborn baby.
A newborn baby. If the newborn baby is a little boy, but he reaches for his mummy instead of of his daddy, then that means he's a woman, which means, well, snip, snip. Give him the John Money treatment. This can only end well. And also, this isn't included in the article, but Pete pointed out to me that in the actual document in the manifesto, they included this one because they're always Trojan horses for other kinds of leftist ideas as well. We will work to remove requirements for LGBTQI+ asylum seekers to prove their identity, and will introduce specific supports for them while the direct provision system is phased out. Because if it's not bad enough that they want all this on your taxpayer money, they want, once again, for asylum seekers to just be able to come in and get whatever they want off the back of your money.
Suddenly, 100% of the sea people are queer.
I know, what a surprise. Who would have seen this coming? It's not like people respond to incentives. or anything. So the Green Party Northern Ireland deputy leader Mal O'Hara, who is standing in North Belfast in next week's election, said ministers have failed to deliver a fully funded LGBTQ+ strategy, despite it first being promised in 2007. The traditional parties have failed to deliver the LGBTQ+ community in Northern Ireland. It must get so tiring just saying that acronym over and over and over again, because honestly, it gets tiring for me just saying it. But it's time to elect politicians who prioritise the fight for social justice. It's time to vote Green. So if you're in Northern Ireland in the next week, I recommend that you absolutely do not vote Green, or else you will be flooded with new trans immigrants and they will be trying to trans your children the second they get into preschool. So once again, this has completely captured so many of the institutions that we hold dear. Be vigilant, be wary, and stand against it wherever you can.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the History series, this one Carl and Bo do, this on the endpoint here of the Life of Napoleon and the 100 Days. And if you want to follow what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at @lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.